Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. Really appreciate everybody joining us last night for our double wide transducer release show. And what happened last night is we had a good time. We had a lot of fun. I had a couple of guests come in, Captain Casey Prisco, Captain Chris Engels, and just had a lot of fun talking about the product line and kind of what's going on at Fishhawk and what we've got coming out new for you. A lot of exciting things between the double wide transducer. We got a bunch of apparel stuff coming out, and we did a bunch of sales and specials last night, and it seemed like people enjoyed those. It seemed like we had a good time, but one thing that we did miss out on last night, just with everything going on and as busy as the show was, and I guess a little bit of old man eyes, our screen was a little further away from us than usual, and we just had a hard time reading the questions. But you know, we wrapped up the show last night and sat down and kind of started going through some of those questions and went, boy, we really should answer some of these questions. Obviously, people have a lot of questions, and we really should get to them. And so let's just go live again today. We're not going to make a big deal out of it. I will put this up on the podcast platform as well, just because we have a lot of people on the podcast have a lot of questions too. But you can come back, watch this. We're going to have it on YouTube and also on Facebook. But we'll put it up on the podcast just so everyone gets an opportunity to kind of hear the answers to some of these questions. But before we do that, Trevor, you're back at base camp. You're back at the HQ. How's things up there today?
Back at World Headquarters. Yeah, the cheaters weren't even enough to see the text on screen last night. So yeah, I guess old man eyes is probably the way to put that. So, but I think we had the idea, like as I was driving home last night, it's like it's like sixth grade, right? If you have the question, there's probably 20 other people that have the question too. So that's why we thought it would be a good idea to just hop on and answer them. So.
Before we do that, you wanted to kind of do a little unboxing, a little kind of showing what people get when you order the thing. What does it look like? So let's go ahead and do that. We'll start with that. You can unbox the system so people can see what they get when they order.
Well, that was something we wanted to do last night too, was unbox it so they actually know, so you know what it looks like. So we'll do our best here with the camera angle. But so this is you open up the box. And you're going to see everything all nice and snug in here. So you're going to get the probe, obviously. So you got the lithium probe. You've got the charger cable, the USB-C cable for the charging pad. We actually we put the charging pad adapter. We installed that on the charging pad. So that's already done for you. So that's you'll see that in there. And then you've got the display with the cover on it. So we'll take this out. Display with the travel cover on there. So that's kind of the first layer of the box. We're going to set all that stuff to the side to get to the fun stuff that you need to install. Handy dandy sticker, of course. Owner's manual. And you've got kind of your basic install instructions in there too. There's really not a lot to the install, to be perfectly honest. So it's not a big task to read the manual. So take the kind of the spacers out of everything. Got the power cord. So there's 20 feet of cable on that power cord. So that's simple red and black. So if you need to extend it, you can. But 20 feet in most applications is plenty. And we get the question a lot, is it best to go right to the battery or to a fuse panel? If you've got a fuse panel handy, go to the fuse panel. It's not a big deal. There is a 1 amp fuse, an inline fuse in there. Otherwise, if it's not a big deal to run to the battery, that's always kind of the best practice. So, and then beyond that, you've got the double wide transducer, which unbag that, get rid of the box. I was telling you last night, my favorite unboxing video of all time was Chris Engels. He, man, this was a long time ago. He did like an X4D, and we have the fold open boxes, and I give him a hard time about it because he just took the end of the box and ripped it off, and of course nothing worked the way it should. So I was that one cracked me up. But anyways, you've got the double wide transducer, and we put the transom mount on there. You know, if for some reason you wanted to use the transducer as a slip deucer, let's say maybe your boat's in the water, or you're just not going to get it permanently mounted for right away. You can disassemble that. There's a block in there that snaps out. You can disassemble that and actually use it as a slip deucer, if you needed to do that. But we do, most people are going to mount it up right away. So we do assemble it with transom mount. And then you've got 4 screws in there. And the screws actually have a rubber washer on the head. And that's designed to go underneath the screw head. And that just keeps you from, just reduces the chance that you're going to over torque those screws. So we do put the little rubber washers on there. And like we always tell everybody, when you're doing your transducers, make sure that when you're screwing that down, you're screwing it down with a screwdriver, not a screw gun or an impact driver. The other thing that makes this really easy is there's a template. I think you can almost see that. So there's a mounting template there. So go ahead and cut that thing out with a scissor, a little craft project for you. Tape it on the transom where you want it, and you can use that to perfectly center up and drill your pilot holes for the mount. So simple as that. There's really nothing to it. Like I say, the manual is super straightforward. There's, it's as far as installs go of electronics, it's really probably about the easiest thing that you're ever going to have for an install. So.
Very good. Well, that leads us in. I did see. I'm going to just go ahead and pull up my phone and start taking questions off of our feed from last night. And I know there was someone that asked the question, where do we mount this transducer? So you can answer that question for us right away.
So if the best thing to do, there's a diagram that we put in all the manuals, and it really depends on what your boat setup is. As far as what kind of propulsion setup you've got, whether you've got a inboard or a outboard with a kicker or trolling an outboard, whatever. But we've kind of got there's kind of 4 main scenarios that we run into, or 4 primary scenarios that you run into. And that's right inside the book there. So the answer to that question really depends on, what your setup is, but it's pretty straightforward. And, that information is in the manual. We've got that on the website. You can get that through us at you can email us help@fishhawkelectronics.com. We can send you that diagram, but that pretty much that simple diagram pretty much covers all the scenarios that we run into based on what your propulsion is and what you're trolling on. Whether you're trolling on a kicker motor or you're trolling on the outboard or trolling on an inboard.
We got a couple questions last night asking about just the availability. They were out of stock before the show. We just popped them up last night just for the 10 that we offered at the show. I know some people took advantage and got a different series unit, just went and bought some different systems, and hey, that's great. I mean, whatever gets you out in the water, we're all about that. But what do you see as far as availability coming down the pipe here with more of these systems being available?
I'm going to actually look right now. That's why I'm on my phone. So, hey, bear with me just a second. I can tell you what we see at the moment. I don't know if there's any more.
While you look at that, Trevor, another guy just asked about lithium probes being in stock. And I looked today. It looked like we've got them up there. How are we looking right now for probes?
I think we're good as of the last time I looked. But everything's just moving really fast right now, and kind of a combination. I mean, it is the season, right? Everybody's getting ready to go in the water. So, I mean, that's pretty normal. But also it's just some of the things in the world right now are making components a little difficult to get again. So we're trying to figure that situation out and, hoping for the best there. But yeah, it looks like there is some couple of double wides left in there right now as far as online. But I guess the real answer to that question is we're building product continuously. So, I mean, we've got basically product scheduled to be built here, right through June. So it's just a matter of how fast can we get them done and get them out. So.
Yeah, I think the real answer to that question is if you see one available, you probably should get it, just because that's going to make sure that you get.
I hope we never get. I really truly mean this. I hope we never get back to the point where we were a few years ago with the whole COVID crap where it was like, if you see it, you better buy it. And that's not, that is, it seems fun for a little bit, but it's not fun in the long run. We've learned that. And so I really hope that we're not going back to that. But again, there's already been, unfortunately we are kind of seeing some impacts as far as like individual components. Even though we build all of our stuff here in the US, we still have to get the parts, unfortunately. And most of the parts we have already for our season. So I mean, it's not like a thing, but there's always like that 100th part, we call it, that can sometimes trip you up.
Yeah.
You said that last night, we did get a lot of orders last night. I just want to give, and you actually mentioned it on air last night, but I'll give another shout out to the shipping staff. So all the orders that we got last night are actually already done. So everything.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
It is. It's pretty cool. I mean, so it's not even noon here our time, and they're, so they do. I mean, they do a great job, and are, we've invested a lot in systems and stuff to make that possible. So.
Yeah. So if you ordered something last night during the show, it's in a box. It's got a label on it.
It's waiting for UPS or post office or whoever's picking it up today. So.
Yeah, very cool. Here's a question wanting to know: do the lithium probes show battery life?
The lithium probes, they do show battery life, but really just when they get low. So there's no current, there's no status indicator on it. It'll just show on screen. It'll say low bat once you get to kind of that critical level. I think from a practical standpoint, it's just the battery life is so darn long on these things. I mean, we talked about that a little bit last night, that it's just it's just a pretty uncommon scenario that you ever really run into a low battery type situation. So.
Very good. Here's a quick one for you. Will the older probes work with the double wide transducer?
100%. Yeah. Yep. So for sure the X4s and lithiums, obviously. I mean, that's, no problem there. I think an 840 would work with it. I mean, there's a believe it or not, there's a few of them kicking around out there that guys still use. I mean, they're we're talking 30 years old now. I mean, there's a few. I mean, you'd be surprised. We run into them every year. They would work. I don't know, because they have a lot less signal strength. I don't know for sure. I mean, that's going to be a pretty small percentage out there. But yeah, the frequencies, still the 70 kilohertz frequency that we've always used for the whole forward and backward compatibility. So yes, the X4s and the lithiums, which I'm sure is what the question was, where it came from. Yes, for those, yeah, absolutely no problem. So.
All right. Does the double wide transducer provide speed and temp at the surface?
It does not. That's a shift that you're going to see us continue with in the future, is that, we feel that that's kind of redundant information, and for the value, for what we provide, what we're really focused on is obviously the down information. So the double wide does not have surface speed or temp.
All right. And that leads us kind of into, we talked about this a little bit. The price point, someone asked last night, is that $1249.99? Is that the everyday price? And kind of go over that and why that's a little less expensive than maybe where we were at with the other unit.
That is the everyday price. The $1249 is, and when you compare that to the Ultra, which came out last year with the legacy transducer at $1399. Really, the difference there is that surface speed and temp. So it's a little more money for that. Again, we feel that it's not 100%, but the majority of people, have that information. If you've got a newer fish finder, you've got that information already, and we're not really providing anything that you don't already have in that situation. So yes, it is. The everyday is $1249. It is a little cheaper, and that's primarily why, is because we're not providing the speed and temp. And in fact, you and I, when we were in design, we talked about that, quite a bit more than we should have, where for what it was going to cost to design a separate module to do that and sell that. I mean, you made, I think, I'll credit, or you made the comment. It's like, look, man, even if we give it for free, people don't want to mount something separate on the boat, and I believe that that's very true. So.
Yeah, it would have been a second component to go on the boat, and people are already kind of getting that with their normal electronics they have on the boat. And like you said, we're providing the down speed, the down temp, and it was just two different places, and just I know there's a small group of users out there that were using it, but I mean, 99% of the people we talked to when in development here on this, they went, I never look at that information on my fishhawk. So we saved you some money. We took that one small thing away, but we gave you the ability to just not lose that ball. I mean, the trade-off here is you save $150 and you get a better performing transducer as far as just never losing contact with your probe. So that was kind of the trade-off.
Kind of a common design phrase is no free lunch, right? So if there's always a trade-off. It seems like I wish it wasn't the case, but that's something that we run into pretty often.
Yeah, the other thing that happened last night is, again, in all the madness, is we forgot to do the giveaway during the show. So a lot of those questions, who won the free TD? And that was Daniel Canham from Michigan. So we ended up going live again on Facebook. We just popped up for 4 or 5
This is a lot of live for me, Chris. This is a lot. This is like 3 times now in 2 days. I'm over my quota.
Yeah, that was good. It was fun. It made we got a lot of comments when we signed off. They're like, what happened to the giveaway?
People are paying attention. That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, we'll go through some on YouTube here. Will you sell the double wide transducer with the smaller screen? So the screen that we have with the multi-unit.
Yeah, the multi-unit. So right now there's nothing I'm thinking here. Yeah. So there's nothing pre-packaged on that right now, but we certainly could. So actually, if you remember when we launched the lithiums last year, we made that smaller display available with the multi-display, or we made a transit-mount transducer available with the multi-display as well. So there's really nothing stopping us from doing that, honestly, other than just supply at this time. So I mean, that's something that we could actually do. And actually, I think it's something that you'll see kind of more and more in the future. The one thing, obviously, with that smaller display is that's powered by 2 AA batteries. So that's the one difference in there. I don't think it's a bad thing. In fact, and I've said this multiple times, but that's the display I have in my boat because that's what kind of fits best and whatever. And those batteries last a heck of a long time. So it's really not an issue for me. Maybe if I'm a captain or something and I'm fishing every day, maybe that's more of an issue. But yeah, that will work. And we could either kind of configure one for somebody, once everything is in stock, or I would possibly even look for that down the road. So as a preset option. So.
All right, we got a few questions actually coming in here on the live stream we're doing today. Yeah. And here's Vermont Fishing Adventures LLC, and they're always watching our streams. But yes, somebody asked a question about interference between boats. If you're running too close, if you're running close together, I know some of those East Coast small water guys I've seen some videos where they're like almost touching each other as they're driving by on their trolls. Would that be something that would come into play as far as reading someone else's probe if you're close to that boat?
Boy, I mean, I haven't, we're doing this live, so I haven't done the math to see what it would be, but I think you'd have to be pretty darn close. And, maybe that's, maybe that's a thing in some fisheries, but I think anything, what I would consider normal, Lake Michigan, Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, I don't think that, I really don't believe that would be an issue. I mean, just, especially if you've got planer boards out or something, that's going to pretty much kind of dictate, the closeness in there. So I mean, by the laws of physics, yeah, it could happen if you're like stacked right next to each other. I mean, it's possible. That's how it works. So, I mean, if you were that close, but I think from at least, what I would consider, a practical fishing distance, if you're running boards and stuff, that wouldn't be an issue. So,
yeah, if you're a courteous distance away, it's not going to happen. So you have to be pretty close.
Courteous distance is a subjective topic. I know from time to time.
Depends on the waterway, that's for sure.
Yeah,
then we got Dan Christine Pickard. I know he popped on last night and just made a comment. But says if you just got a fish hawk and want to switch probes, can we? So, and then asked about switching transducers. So, Dan, if you just bought your system and you haven't done anything with it, reach out to us and we can make something happen, make it work for you. You can give us a call or drop us an email at help@fishhawkelectronics.com and we'll get you taken care of.
Do that, Dan. Just reach out to help@fishhawkelectronics.com and just make a note in there. Hey, I'm watching the live stream or whatever. We can do that. So.
Yep. All right. Jim Carl wants to know about the battery and the TD, and that was a question I was surprised we didn't get last night. But
that's a
question people ask all the time. We're talking about the TD.
Usually number one question. So, and I don't have a TD in front of me, but I guess we probably held it up enough last night. But so the battery in the TD is it's a lithium battery. It has a 20-year shelf life on it. And so that battery, the way that the TD is built is it's overmolded. So it's all molded. Once we put together the electronics, we put that into a jig. We do a first shot in the actually, hold on, I got it on my desk here. Hang on a second, I'll get it.
I was going to do that too.
Yeah, I'm going to get one.
But thanks everybody for watching last night. It was a lot of fun. We had a good time. I think the people watching had a good time. I know our guests had a good time. It was a good evening. And again, just wanted to come back here today, loop back in and just answer some of these questions. All right, Trevor, show us what you got.
This is actually one I've got partially torn apart. I got the face label torn off it. So yeah, so when we put the electronics in here, it goes into a jig. And we do the first shot. It's a low pressure, low temperature injection molding process. And that covers the battery, the electronics, comes right up to the edge of the screen. Doesn't cover the buttons there. You can see that. So that's the first shot. And then we do like a cosmetic shot over the top of it that puts in the line tie and the guard for the thermistor and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, yeah, so that battery is sealed in there. So that's it's not replaceable. But again, with the shelf life it has and just the practical use time and how like stingy it is in power consumption, like if you use it every day, I mean, we've done the math on it where like you could expect 7 years of use out of it. So I mean, I've seen in the like dozen years we've been building these. The number that we've actually seen that have the battery has actually died is very, very, very small. I could probably count them on my hands and toes in a dozen years. So it's frankly, you're more likely to lose it before the battery. I mean, you're more likely to lose it than you are for the battery to die, to be honest. So.
Yeah. I mean, I just look at it this way. It's a tool. If you pay regular price for it, you're paying $200 for it. And if you get the minimum amount of use out of it, 7 years, it costs you $30 a year, a little less than that. I mean, that's how many tools are you going to get 7 years of use out of for $30 a year? Not very many. So it's definitely.
You're right, though. That is like the number one question. I mean, that's the one that we get, pretty much, every day. So.
Yep. Awesome. Well, I think that's everything. I went through YouTube, went through Facebook, and I think we scoured everything, and we got a few extra questions today, which was great.
Awesome.
Trevor, it was a lot of fun last night. It was fun having you up here. Jim said he bought one last night, so he's excited about the TD.
Yeah, cool.
And he got it for $150, so it's just over $20 a year, Jim.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, thanks.
Happy
it was
Easter,
fun having
everybody.
you last night. It was fun. Thanks to the crowd and everybody who showed up last night and again today. It was fun chatting with you and just a good time. And I think everybody's looking forward to getting out there on the water and doing some stuff. So it's a good time to get out there. So appreciate everybody. Appreciate you, Trevor. And we will see you guys on the next live stream.